Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh and good day everyone. Okay, today I'm going to show you guys on how do I compute on company taxation, which is corporate tax. Okay, and first thing first, I'm going to introduce myself. My name is Muhammad Aqil bin Muhammad ARSYAD. My metric number is ACT3423 and my lecturer is Dr. SHAYUTI binti Muhammad Adnan. Okay, first I'm going to compute on the SDS Group Berhad, which is the company I've chosen to compute the tax computation. Okay, first, how do we treat on corporate tax computation? First one is we need to allocate the profit or loss before tax. Like for me, I chose this one, the group 2022 for the company profit or loss. Okay, and next, freight charges and compensation for late delivery of customers. Which one? Advertisement and promotion, staff medical dental benefits, entertaining existing customers, high gifts to employees, food and beverages during sales promotion campaigns, high purchase interest, and bank charge. Why does it all nil? Because it was involved wholly and exclusively involved in the section 33. Okay, wholly and exclusively involved in the business. So if we refer to the section 33(1), subject to this act, the adjusted income of a person from a source for the basis period for a year of assessment shall be amount ascertained by deducting from the gross income of that person from the source for that period all outgoings and expenses wholly and exclusively incurred during that period by that person in the production of gross income from that source, including subject to the subsection 2 any sum payable for that period for any part of that period by way of interest upon any money borrowed by that person and employed in that period in the production of gross income from that source, or laid out on assets used or held in that period for the production of gross income from that source. Okay, all of this explains that every expenses that is wholly and exclusively involved in the business, it will be allowable expenses that falls under section 33. Okay, so next is other income not falling under section 4A, which is section 4C, section 4D, section 4E, and section 4F. Actually, we have section 4B, but corporate taxation normally doesn't compute in employment income because they does business. Okay, so the first one that I have allocated is dividend income from Japan investment. Dividend income from Japan investment is falls under section 4C. Okay, then the next one is interest income from deposits in Maybank. It also falls under section 4C. Okay, then and the last one is dividend income, which is single tier system, also falls under section 4C. And three of them falls under section 4C because dividend income, interest income, and discount, all three of this also falls under section 4C. So we need to deduct. Yes. Okay. So the next one is non-allowable expenses. Non-allowable expenses falls under section 39. As we can see, okay, section 39(1) says, subject to any express provision of this act in ascertaining the adjusted income of any person from any source for the basis period for a year of assessment, no reduction from the gross income from that source for that period shall be allowed in respect of domestic or private expenses, any disbursements or expenses not being money wholly and exclusively laid out or expended for the purpose of producing the gross income, any capital withdrawn or any sum employed or intended to be employed as capital. Last one, any amount in respect of any payment to any pension, provident savings, widowers, an orphans or other similar fund or society which is not an approved scheme, or even any expenditure incurred in business be expenditure which is qualifying minor expenditure for the purpose of SHAYUTI, and so on. Okay, so for non-allowable expenses, normally depreciation expenses is not included in non-allowable expenses. Rental expenses is also for other expenses that is not wholly and exclusively involved in the business. Okay, and halal certificate expenses, so depreciation expenses, it will be added back, and rental expenses will be added back. So corporate tax, depreciation expenses 73505381. Okay, so for halal certificate expenses, it will be double deduct because it will falls under double deduction of R&D. So we need to be approval for the research of food, because SDS falls under F&B. Okay, so halal certificate will be allocated for R&D proportion, that's why it is double deduct. Okay, advertisement proportion also falls under section 33. Okay, cash donation will be added. It will falls under section 39. It is whether it doesn't it is irrespective whether it is approved institution or unapproved institution. Okay, so double deduction expenses is on the public ruling number 10, year 2021. Okay, as we can see, for example, remuneration of disabled employee. For disabled employee, it falls under PU. Okay, remuneration of disabled employee will be double deduction because it falls under double deduction expenses. Okay, and then interest expenses to finance the Hong Kong investment, it was not allowable expenses because it is not wholly and exclusively in the business. Okay, so after we added all this and we deduct, we get adjusted profit business. Okay, and then since balancing charge is not, it doesn't have, okay, as we can see, we can look at capital allowance in the schedule 3. Schedule 3 here is motor vehicle and plant and machinery. So how do we claim capital allowance? Actually, we can claim capital allowance from the initial allowance and annual allowance that was given by the IRB for the rate of the fixed assets that we can claim. Okay, the first one is motor vehicle. Motor vehicle is was transferred to the director of the company that was allocated at cost of 200,000. Okay, and the vehicle was transferred on 1st of January 2022. That is not the vehicle was not all amount for 200,000. It was just part of it. Okay. So restricted to IRP, it says that motor vehicle, if it is non-commercial, because it was transferred to the director, if it is non-commercial vehicle and above 150,000, it will be restricted to 50,000 for the qualifying expenditure. So only 50,000 that we can claim for allowance for the whole period of the asset. Okay, and then plant and machinery. Plant and machinery is after, if we have, for let's say the cost for 10% test, which is we can take the cost and then we can plus the PCT planning, clearing, tunneling, and leveling. Okay, we don't have that expenses, so we don't need to allocate the 10% test, and then we can claim allowance for that whole period. This one is for only for a year. Okay, so we can claim capital allowance. We can claim capital allowance for how many amount? You see schedule 3. Actually we can't claim all, so we just claim the amount that has allocated. So the statutory income will be 0 because we deduct all from the capital allowance. There will still unabsorbed capital allowance that will be brought forward for the next period of time, for the next business income. So there will be no unabsorbed business losses. Okay, and then we will add back the other taxable income, which is falls under section 4C, 4D, 4E, and 4F. Okay, so we have now, just now is dividend income, interest income, and dividend income single tier system. Okay, so dividend income from Japan investment supposed to be allowable. Interest income deposits in Maybank, it is also allowable. And dividend income single tier system is supposed to be allowable also. So all will be nil. Okay, so we have no aggregate loss, we have no aggregate income, therefore we does not have, we can't deduct the approved donation, therefore the approved donation will be burned. Okay, and then we have no chargeable income or chargeable loss, therefore the paid up capital will be nil, even though will be nil because we have no chargeable income or chargeable loss. Okay, so that's all from me. Thank you.